It finally happened. She's gone. She will never print again.
Look, I got a new printer!
Welcome to Cosplayland. I am Alice and today I want to show you my new 3D printer. Just before we start, I want to let you know this is not sponsored. I bought this printer with my own money and I don't even have any affiliate links to share with you, so this is gonna be like 100% true review with, you know, just my thoughts and my experiences with 3D printing so far, which is not a lot, but it is something. You may know that I have lately been having a lot of trouble with my older 3D printer, which was also an Elegoo. I don't know how to pronounce that, Elegoo, I don't know. But I had a Mars Elegoo printer and it was giving me trouble from the very beginning. I hated the machine, thought I hated resin printing, but no, I just hated my machine because it was not working. In the end, what happened was that just 2 months after the guarantee expired, I realized that it wasn't me being terrible at 3D printing, it was the machine actually being broken. There was a sensor inside that wasn't working properly and it made 90% of all my prints fail. Fixing the old printer was not a possibility because it was going to take a long time, and I decided to go ahead and instead I bought a newer printer. And yes, you're gonna say, this is the same brand, but I just hope that because this is a newer model and it's supposed to be better, this was going to work better. After all, this is still one of the best printers for the price in the market. The printer that I chose is this Elegoo Saturn, which has a bigger build plate, so theoretically I will be able to print more things faster, and also it's also supposed to be quicker and have better quality with a 4K LCD screen. It was pretty easy to assemble it, and pretty much it is a play and plug machine. As I already knew what I was doing, it was just pretty easy to get it all ready. It just took me about 20 minutes to get the machine out of the box and to put all the pieces together. Then I just needed to calibrate my machine for the first time and it was ready to go. Here is the machine completely assembled. The plate goes up and down through this rod and it will eventually get to the bottom part where you have the resin tank, and the light on the screen will do the trick to convert the resin into solid. It has a tactile LCD screen where you can just ask the machine to do whatever you want, and it already comes with a USB stick that you plug in the side. The on and off buttons are on the back, and there is also these ventilation areas that have a carbon filter on the inside to avoid some of the fumes from the resin. There is also a plug to connect it to your network, and it does come with this cool red filter that stops the UV light to go through your machine and stops your resin to getting cured ahead of time. Overall, it's a pretty nice and compact design, and it does not take much more space than my previous printer. The machine comes with brief instructions and everything you need to make a successful first print. I'm gonna go ahead and do my first print, and of course it's going to be just the test print that comes with the machine. I just want to make sure that my settings are correct before I commit with something bigger. But of course, safety first. I'm going to be using gloves as well as a respirator and safety goggles. You want to make sure you expose yourself least as you can to the fumes of the machine. They can be very toxic. Open all the windows, and if you can, keep your machine away in a spare room. Following the instructions, I have already calibrated my machine, so my plate will be on top of the paper that they provide to make sure there's some space between the plastic and the LCD screen and my plate. This will guarantee a better print. Don't forget to tighten those screws very tight when you finish. And I mean it. tight. You can now take your cover off and put some resin on the tank. I'm going to be using this Eco Resin by Anycubic. It is made with 45% of soybean oils, and even if it is still dangerous, it's supposed to be slightly less bad than other resins. You still need to be careful with it though. Always treat your resin with respect, because this could potentially create some allergic reactions or even burns if they are not handled correctly. Fill your tank, making sure you don't get past the maximum point and you are ready to get going. But first, don't forget to put your cover back. It is time to look for our printing file. This pretty much works with the folders, so you just have to find the right one and find the thing that you want to print. In this case, as I said, I'm just going to print their own Rook model that is designed to test the machine and see if it works properly. You just have to click it and then just press play and you will be able to print it. The machine will give you an estimate of how long it will take to print your model. And there is also a bar that tells you the percentage of the print that has been done already. This was going to be a really cool time-lapse showing you how long it takes to do a print, but it did not work, so here it is. With the machine already finished, I printed 2 rooks and I just had to again use my gloves and all my equipment, and these are the prints. And you know what? They failed. Yeah, if you see them, what happened was that my plate wasn't correctly leveled, so you can see the bottom of the machine slightly squeezed to the sides. Remember when I told you to tighten those screws very tight? That's what I meant with it. Now what happens is that your resin is not completely cured and you need to wash them. So I have this very fancy machine which is a wash and cure station, and what it does is just mix this cool vortex with isopropyl alcohol and it cleans the model perfectly well while you look at it, and you don't have to do much more than just that. Once it's done, I'm gonna take them out and it is time to cure it, because you need to put your models in the sun or exposed to UV light once you're done. This is to make sure there is no resin left which isn't cured, and as I said, it can be quite toxic if it is not correctly cured. Once the resin is cleaned and cured, it is safe to touch. And this is the model that I printed. You can tell that the bottom has been slightly squeezed, however, it managed to print correctly and it worked. And my cat is really interested because of course she is not allowed in the other room. Just remember to keep your resin and all your toxic and hazardous materials away from children and pets, because as you see they will be very interested and you wouldn't want them to accidentally ingest any of these things. But enough of this talk. What you want to know is about cosplay, so here is what I actually managed to make with my new printer. Not this rook. These are some of the pieces of my Ganyu cosplay that I was missing, and I managed to get them done with my new printer. It still takes a lot of time because I can't just put a file on my printer. First I need to run it through a program, tell my program which resin I'm using and which printer I'm using, and then you want to make sure it has supports and it's gonna fail perhaps if you don't do it correctly. It is actually a very time-consuming process, so I do not recommend you to get a 3D printer if what you're looking is for a quick way of doing something. It is more exact, but arguably it's not really quicker. For several years I hated 3D printing. I barely used my machine because it was not working for me, and it was a learning curve that I had to do in order to master the techniques that would allow me to do these prints. So If you just want to get a piece done for one cosplay once a year, perhaps consider getting someone else to print them for you, someone that will actually enjoy the process, because it can really become really frustrating. So if you were expecting me to recommend you to go out there and buy a 3D printer, that is not the case, and I am surely going to do some more videos so you can see how long it actually takes to do anything with a 3D printer, and you can then decide if it's worth your time or not, and maybe enjoy your cosplay in other different ways. This doesn't mean that you shouldn't buy a 3D printer at all. It will depend on how you want to use it and how often you want to use it. Perhaps you just want to just do commissions for other people. There are many reasons that will make this a very useful machine. However, remember that it will take time to master it like any other thing. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, I hope you got to learn something new, and if you liked it and you want to know what happens with these prints later on, just make sure to like and subscribe, and follow me on social media if you want to see what I am up to these days. Stay crafty and see you next time, bye! Do you want to see something funny? This button is supposed to make these go down. Do you see it going down? Because it's not going down. Ah! I'm gonna kill this machine. I am.